Hey everyone, this is some interesting news that is an update to a game that many of us are anticipating. That is Metroid Prime 4. You have read the title, you know what's up. Bandai Namco is supposedly, reportedly, creating Metroid Prime 4. Now, this was being speculated and rumored by fans for a couple days now because they put up a hiring post looking for a lead designer for a Switch exclusive unannounced game. That's a first-person shooter. That is also like an adventure game, and that kind of fits the perfect description of Metroid Prime. And I'm actually going to look like an idiot on next week's podcast when you guys hear me talk about it, because this is actually a topic we can talk about. But new information surfaced today from Eurogamer, who are the same people that got pretty much all of the rumor reporting correct on Switch when they were using their own sources. They basically told us it was going to be a Tegra X1. It was going to be a hybrid device. It had a dock. It had detachable Joy-Cons. Blah, 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 blah. They told us all this stuff before it was even announced. They clearly have some insider sources. So taking that into consideration, we're going to kind of sort of treat this as an almost fact in the way we talk about it. But it is what it is. They don't just confirm, though, through multiple sources, as they say, that it's being made, by Bandai Namco and obviously in conjunction with a couple people at Nintendo who are heading the project up. Specifically, the highly anticipated Nintendo Switch exclusive is being developed by Bandai Namco Studios Singapore. And they said that they understand that it is the lead studio on the game, and that's in collaboration with Nintendo. The studio houses former LucasArts Singapore staff who previously worked on a ton of things, including the ambitious yet right now canceled Star Wars 1313. And Star Wars 1313 was a very interesting concept game. Instead of being based on the lightsaber duels and Jedis and all that stuff, it's going to be focused around Boba Fett and his early adulthood, and a lot more gadgetry and pistols, and a lot more serious, more adult-oriented game, potentially single-player focused, blah, 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 blah. It was a very highly anticipated game that was announced back in 2012 and then was canceled in 2013 when Disney bought out the Star Wars and closed all the studios from LucasArts. And they talked about how they might license out Star Wars 1313 in the future to another studio, but it just hasn't happened as far as we're aware. And right now the game stands as just one of those canceled games from the Walt Disney acquisition of LucasArts and the Star Wars IP. So, setting all of that aside, what does this actually mean? One, it means that despite Bandai Namco, which is obviously a Japanese company, making this game, it is being made by one of their Western studios. That's right. That means Metroid Prime 4 is still being made in the West, just like Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 were made in the West by Nintendo's own Retro Studios. So this does instill some confidence that it's going to have that more Western take that Metroid Prime has sort of always carried with it over the years. Obviously, the talent behind Star Wars 1313, which its reveal footage and stuff looked absolutely fantastic, might excite some people. Now, it's true that LucasArts on the whole hadn't made an extremely good Star Wars game in quite some time, but Star Wars 1313 kind of sort of looked to be that exception to the typical rule that LucasArts can't make good Star Wars games anymore. So, if that rule was to be true, that means a lot of very talented people are working at the Singapore offices for Bandai Namco, and that means that we have some highly talented people now currently working on, well, Metroid Prime 4. Now, what's interesting is that the people that worked on Star Wars 1313 built it upon Unreal Engine 3, so it's entirely possible that they are going to be using Unreal Engine 4. Again, my own personal speculation based on some of the studio's past experience with Unreal Engine. So it could be Unreal Engine 4, or it could be something entirely different. Who knows, except the people working on the game. But this, to me, is just exciting. I felt like when Nintendo talked about forming a new team to make Metroid Prime, and it wasn't Retro Studios, I was really worried that they were going to do something internal at Nintendo EAD, and that isn't a knock on Nintendo, of course, but I don't know that Nintendo of Japan fully understands and grasps what makes Metroid Prime special, because Metroid Prime, just this part of the Metroid franchise, is extremely different from Nintendo's typical games, even extremely different from something like what Monolith Soft does with Xenoblade. So when you consider that, I was worried that Nintendo might have the wrong team working on it. But to hear they partner with Bandai Namco, who's got a lot of excellent excellent titles to their name and their back catalog, even recently, and a company that has worked directly with Nintendo in the past as is. This, I feel, is probably one of the best studio picks and partnerships for Metroid Prime 4 that there can be. Bandai Namco's Singapore office featuring former members of, the Star Wars 1313 team. That has me excited. Of course, we always have to be a little bit wary when we're talking about, members from, a somewhat famous development team because, as we all know, a bunch of people from Naughty Dog ended up going to Big Red Button, and that got people really, really hyped that we might get a good Sonic game, and their Sonic game ended up not being good. I don't know how to be any kinder about that. So, I'm still excited about this. I have hope that we might see some footage of Metroid Prime 4 this year, maybe specifically at E3. I'm really, really anticipating this. And just to address a point I briefly mentioned earlier, I talked about how I'm going to look like an idiot next week on our podcast. Well, we recorded our podcast last night before this information broke out, so we were working just on the lead development thing, and I kind of took a stance on the topic that they said an unannounced game and Metroid Prime 4 would be announced. So I was kind of saying that, I kind of give it a 50-50 shot, but it was still one of those, I was very tepid on Bandai Namco making the game, not because I didn't want them to, but because I didn't really trust a job posting for something that says unannounced on it. Obviously, maybe they don't want to announce that Bandai Namco is working on it yet, but it is what it is. I'm going to look stupid. That podcast comes out on Monday. Whatever, I made this video, so obviously anyone who watches that and watches this video knows that I now know more information than at the time of recording. Whatever, it's crazy. It is what it is. I hope you check out that podcast because it features one of your own, one of our fans at Nintendo Prime, Be Righteous, and then obviously myself and Mr. Eric Moore. Anyways, folks, I want to hear what you guys think about Metroid Prime 4. Most likely in this case, I'm not going to say 100%, but most likely being made by Bandai Namco's Singapore office, as reported by Eurogamer. We'll have a link down to the Eurogamer's news publication on this for today, so you guys can sift through this and decide for yourself. I'm not ever going to claim that Eurogamer is 100% on everything that they have sources for, but they've been pretty spot on with Switch, so until otherwise, I'm just going to believe it. You guys could choose to believe it or not. That is up to you. Anyways, folks, I am Nathaniel Rufflejans from Nintendo Prime, and if you like this video, you know what to do, and if you dislike the video, hit that dislike button, subscribe for more content, and yes, my hair is shiny and wet. I just took a shower. It is what it is, because I'm so shiny!